Have a question or need how-to advice? Just ask Meta AI. Whether you need to summarize your class notes or want to create a recipe with the ingredients you already have in your fridge, Meta AI has the answers. You can also research topics, explore interests, and so much more. It's the most advanced AI at your fingertips. Expand your world with Meta AI. Now on Instagram, WhatsApp, Facebook, and Messenger.
Sid and Friends in the morning. 77 WABC.
One of the things that I can share here today that has not been shared yet is that we've just in the last couple of days found that from our review, to your point about devices, analysis of a laptop that the investigation ties to the shooter reveals that on July 6th, he did a Google search for, quote, how far away was Oswald from Kennedy? And so that's a search that obviously is significant in terms of his state of mind. That is the same day that it appears that he registered for the Butler rally.
FBI Director Christopher Wray, in excess, new sensation. So I watched Chris Wray yesterday. Yesterday was, again, a huge day. 4 major political events, if you will. Chris Wray testifying on the Hill. Then you had Bibi speaking in front of Congress. Then you had Trump at a rally in North Carolina. Then Biden wasted our time last night. But, listen, you guys know how I feel about the FBI. George V. is listening right now, dear friend of ours. Big boss here at Red Apple behind John Catsimatidis. Wonderful man, great FBI man, and the overwhelming majority of FBI people are fantastic and do a great job protecting us. They thwart attempts to kill us every day. But unfortunately, whether it was James Comey, who's a scumbag, this guy Chris Wray, who's no good, Strzok and Page, and all the animals over the years, top of the fish is stinking. Same thing with Secret Service. My good buddy Russ Sullivan listening right now in Maryland. 23 years Secret Service. Great man. Great patriot. Loves this country. Those 6 people that rushed the stage that day, that's courage with a capital C. But Kimberly Chadle had to resign. She should have been fired. But she had to resign because it stinks at the top. And that has become a huge issue. The DOJ, Merrick Garland, it stinks at the top. Peter King, the great congressman, one of the 2 best politicians locally in my lifetime, him and Rudy. Is there anything wrong with what I just said?
No, I agree with everything. First of all, rank and file FBI agents are great. You mentioned George there in WABC. He was the assistant director here in New York. He was phenomenal. I deal with them every day. Certainly just recently with the whole cricket tournament in Nassau County. They were indispensable in helping, working with the Nassau police and the state police and everybody else. They're great. But no, for a number of years, they were at the top, starting with Comey, who I have to admit had me fooled for a while. I thought he was one of the only good guys in that administration compared to Brennan and the others. But it turned out he was maybe, the worst of all of them. And Andrew McCabe, the same thing. I was involved with him for a number of years. And turned out that he was a fraud. We go to the whole list, and that those 2 lovers, they were going after Trump at the time. A disgrace that they were even in the FBI. Secret Service, when I was chairman of the Homeland Security Committee and ranking member, and it didn't matter whether it was Democrat or Republican, whenever there was any problem with the Secret Service, some potential scandal or something went wrong, the director would be on the phone that day or the next day. They'd be coming up to meet with us privately and then have a public hearing. So what she did was absolutely wrong. I think it does come from the top. I think the fact you have an attorney general who is a political operative, you have a president of the United States, Joe Biden, and before that, going back to Obama, people who they have a different attitude toward the world than you or I do. They are generally not on the side of cops. They always want to find an excuse as to why a riot was held, why some lowlife committed a crime, and that permeates. That's the top levels. But thank God the rank and file for the most part, the ones I dealt with, and I don't want to mention names here because I don't want to get them in trouble, but some of the guys here in New York are just phenomenal. Phenomenal to work with. They have a joint terrorism task force. Several years ago, there was some disputes between the FBI and the NYPD. I tell you, when George came in, that was all resolved. But no, day in, day out. But at the top with Ray. Now, with Ray, all I give Ray credit for, he is willing to speak out about terrorism. And that may sound obvious to you, Sid. Of course, the FBI director should speak out against it. Democrats don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear there's Islamist terrorists in the country because we all love each other. There is no such thing as Islamist terrorism. There's a few bad people, but it has nothing to do with the fact that they belong to a crazy cult of Islam. So the fact that he even talks about that, I give him credit for.
Well, I'll give you that. I'll give you that right now. Let me stop you right there, Pete. Being that you brought it up, here is Christopher Wray, the FBI director, talking about that. Something I got to give you credit for. You keep going back to Congress, to the Hill, to warn people, especially after Donald Trump did the right thing and killed Soleimani, who, of course, was one of the top Iranian officials. Chris Wray did make that point after lying and evading questions about the would-be assassin. He did talk about the real threat of terrorism.
I have warned for some time now about the threat that foreign terrorists may seek to exploit our southwest border or some other port of entry to advance a plot against Americans.
So there it is. You did it again yesterday, to your point.
Yeah, and that is a real threat. I mean, it was 17 people almost put the country to its knees back in 9/11. Now, and that was before they really built up the worldwide network they have today. If even what half of what Christopher Wray says is accurate, all you need is 3 or 4 people. We thank God Ray Kelly stopped him, but back in 2009, I guess it was, we had 4 or 5 terrorists who could have destroyed the New York City subway system. They had liquid explosives, which come from Colorado, and they had it all planned to hit the New York City subway system. Imagine hitting the rush hour with explosives, liquid explosives, the damage that would have done. So, no, it doesn't take a lot. And then you figure the fact that here, like in New York, under Bill de Blasio and others, and some of the federal court judges, the fact that the surveillance has had to be cut back, the fact that it's considered bigotry to be quote-unquote profiling. If you want to find out where a terrorist might be who's coming from, whatever the country happens to be, Yemen, Ethiopia, wherever, you want to make sure that you know what's going on in that community here in New York, because we have so many different communities, and that's been unfortunately cut back quite a bit. Thank God the NYPD still can do some of the things they used to do, but it's nowhere near what it was like under Kelly and Bratton, especially Kelly.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. This is the great Congressman Peter King. So, we both agree that January 6th was a bad day. You think it was probably worse than I do. I'm on record saying you can grab any night, any summer night back in the BLM summer of 2020 in any major city. And if you're going to be honest, and talk about injuries, death, destruction, January 6th falls short. Sorry. Now, I understand that the visual of people breaking into the Capitol is terrifying. I agree with that. Okay. But you look what happened yesterday. Raising Palestinian flags, burning American flags, writing Hamas is coming with hearts on a monument, desecrating. I mean, yesterday to me wasn't a heck of a lot different than January 6th. Then you get inside the building. I get that. But the point is, Pete, not one Democrat, not one said a word yesterday, not a word about what these animals did in D.C. And they continue to get away with under the bullshizzle guise of the First Amendment. It is absolutely not right.
I think you're giving animals a bad name. Those people to me are disgusting creatures. I sound like your mother now, but I mean, they are absolutely terrible people. No, listen, my criticism of January 6th is President Trump didn't speak out. We can leave it at that. But as far as the actual level of violence.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. If you and I'm okay with that. If you want to criticize, he did speak out. He did. But if you want to criticize him for taking too long, that's okay. Okay. So where's Harrison Biden? It's a day later.
Sid, I agree with you completely, and I've said that what happened in the summer of 2020 was a national disgrace. You have people like Kamala Harris posting bail for these people, some of who turned out to be accused murderers. There was virtually not one word spoken. You had CNN constantly talking about mostly peaceful. They were not. They were rioters. They were murderers. And what happened here in New York City, I was condemning it every day. That was a national disgrace, and the Democrats were silent about it. You had Bill de Blasio. You had Andrew Cuomo courtesy friend, Andrew Cuomo, saying he was proud to stand with the protesters the night after they threw a Molotov cocktail at a police vehicle and knocked the cop's teeth out with a brick. I mean, that was absolutely discredited. Nothing compares to that. And that was sustained. That wasn't like a one-night thing. That was encouraged by the Democratic Party. They were horrible. And yesterday, every Democrat should have been out there condemning what happened. I was critical of President Bush, January 6th. I'm supporting him for president. Those people, the Democrats, the way they were yesterday, allowing that to go on, not saying a word about it, is indefensible.
So last night, Biden speaks, and he did what I thought he would do, Peter. Let's be honest. I mean, there was a moment right before I was watching Brett Baer and Martha McCallum, well, like less and less every day, and saying to myself, maybe he's going to shock us and tell us the truth, that he's been forced out. But, of course, he said basically what I thought he was going to say, which was nothing. It was a complete waste of time. I think Dana Perino put it best when she said, basically, it was a mini State of the Union. Hey, things are great. I'm doing great. I'm going to move aside now because we want young, great voices and vote for Kamala. I mean, we wanted to hear something. How all of a sudden did you go from 1 week, I'm not going anywhere, I'm great, my record speaks for itself, to time to go home? Now, we know the answer, but God forbid him or anyone in that Democrat Party is somewhat honest.
No, the whole thing was a fraud. I was actually at the Mets-Yankee game last night with my grandson, so I didn't see the truth live. I come home, I asked Rosemary about it, and she was saying it was like an Iranian hostage video. He never blinked his eyes. He stared into the camera, and he was just going on. And then, so I watched it myself. It was even worse than she described it. And listen, everyone knows that something went wrong. The fact that he didn't own up to that at all. And if you just come in from Mars and listen to that speech last night, you figure, oh, here's a nice guy. He's doing a good job. And suddenly he decided, let me hand it off to another generation. Yeah. Not knowing the Democrat, that was out of the Godfather. By the way, I'm not a guy who's shocked by what happened. That is tough politics. But Nancy Pelosi, and I've known her a long time, she is ruthless. She's 84 years old. She's as sharp as she ever was. Chuck Schumer comes to visit him. He's a guy who says, I'm going to stay in forever. Nobody can get me out. Only God can ask me to leave. The next thing you know, suddenly he walks out. He packs his bags and he's gone. So, no, something was said to him, whether it was an ultimatum, whether it was a threat, whether it was an offer, whatever it was. But he was told either do it or you're gone. One way or the other, you got to be out of here. And so he tries to do it peacefully. But the fact that he was even silent about that, he could have said something.
Right.
Yeah. Listen, I think I can do the job for the rest of the year, but I just don't know if I can do it for the next 4 years. So I thought, nothing like that. He made it sound like this was like his commencement speech or graduation.
Exactly. Right. And the Republicans make a good point, which is if you're not healthy enough, which was what KJP said, right? If you're not healthy enough to run again.
What are you bringing her name up for? God, you're doing the whole morning.
I can't stand her, I know. But if you're not healthy enough to run again, then get out now. Go home. Thank you very much. I had a great 3.5 years. I'm the greatest president ever. And here comes Kamala. And the rumor is that Barack Obama, he's the last one to endorse her, hasn't done it yet. The rest of them all came in, right? Schumer and Pelosi and Jeffries. And the rumor is that Obama hasn't done it yet because he really believes in his heart of hearts that she can't win. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but that is the rumor. Your thoughts?
Yeah, it's hard to figure out Barack Obama. What he is not, he's not these kindly gentlemen people say he is. He is a tough political operator, and he has something up his sleeve. I don't know what it is. Maybe, again, I don't know, but I watch him carefully. He is a very shrewd operator. But you put him, Pelosi, Schumer, I mean, they work. They are tough behind-the-scenes operators. And all this talk about threats to democracy. Here a guy gets 14 million votes, and he's out before he can even claim victory. I mean, this is imagine if the Republicans had done this. I mean, if they'd suddenly just, let's say Nikki Haley had gotten the nomination, and suddenly she's gone because she decides to leave. I mean, that's what's happened. 14 million votes, and they wouldn't let anybody else run. They control the field. Then the guy they wanted got in, and then he was exposed, and now they want him out, and he has no say. I think of the President of the United States, the most powerful man in the world. He's sitting in a house in Delaware, and a couple of people come to see him, and suddenly he's gone. If we heard that about Russia, I mean, that's what happened to Khrushchev. Back in 1964, the guy said he's the most powerful leader Russia ever had. The next thing you know, he's resigning. Yep. You had Gorbachev, 1991. Suddenly he goes on vacation, doesn't come back for a while. I mean, this is third world stuff we're seeing here. And yet the media, they're falling all over themselves. I mean, they got Kamala Harris is like God's gift to the world now. Listen, she can be an impressive candidate if she's channeled the right way.
Please.
So Republicans don't take this thing lightly. We have to work. After all that's gone on over the last few weeks, it's still only a 2-point race. And they're going to have the media on their side. That's worth a few points right there.
Yes.
The way the media, every time Donald Trump looks the wrong way, there's going to be a major scandal story about it. Kamala Harris can fall on her face and say she's a great acrobat.
Sure.
No, you can't. This is going to be a tough race. And local congressmen like Anthony D'Esposito, 70,000 more Democrats in his district. We got to work hard for these guys. We can't live in an echo chamber where everyone we talk to is for Trump. Everybody in the country is not for Trump.
Nope.
And what you saw out there with Hamas yesterday, can you have imagined that just a few years ago?
Never. No, you're right. We can't be complacent, and it is going to be close. I think it'll be closer now than Biden. But we'll see. Brett Baer was talking last night about this possibility of a September 17th debate on Fox News. He put it out there, him and Martha. Come on, we'll host it, and you can have an audience. You don't have to have an audience. They basically said, do whatever you want, but we are offering you September the 17th debate, Trump and Harris on Fox News. And we can only hope to God that's the case, because she'll continue to have some momentum, black, female, hundreds of millions coming in. She's alive. Biden is not. She'll have some momentum. There's no doubt about it, until it's time to discuss substance. Right. Then Trump should kill her. We'll see what happens. Peter King, I love you. And on a good note,
one
yes.
final suggestion. Back in 1992, Imus had Barbara Abrams and Al D'Amato on a debate. That's when the election. You should invite them on your show. That'd be great. ABC, Kamala Harris walking into the studio at WABC, having to look across those ugly guys like Rufino and Justin and all that. It'd be great. What a day that would be for democracy. By the way, are you going to Gargiulo's tomorrow night?
Yes,
not,
yes.
Okay.
I know I've been busy. I'm sorry. Yes.
Okay, should I make the reservation to you?
Tomorrow's that's the thing at the Wall, right?
Yes.
Sal, what's Sal's last name again? Mogden?
Mogden, yes.
Yes, and it is for the fire department, right?
Right, absolutely. Firemen and cops, I think honoring Monsignor Romano tomorrow night.
Oh, he's a good guy. All right, so I'll text you after the show. We'll make those plans, okay?
Great, you got it.
All right, Peter, great job. There he is, Congressman Peter King, here on Sid and Friends in the Morning.